Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of September 11th through the 17th. And the main thing of this week is a new moon at 22 degrees Virgo. And if there's a theme for this week, it is the beginnings of a time where we have the ability to make great changes in our lives. So that's the main thing I'm going to talk about. There's a couple other little things I'll talk about too. But first off, just a little business. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I put out every week, usually on Monday, and it is on YouTube. So if you have a YouTube account and you'd like to become a follower, please do. And remember to turn on your notifications if you do, and that will let you know whenever I post the blog. It is also available on all kinds of podcasts, so don't have to be married to YouTube in any way with that, and just look it up on any of your favorite podcasts. Look up Astrological Winds channel. It's distributed by Buzzsprout, so there's a bunch of different ones that pick it up. I also have it the link posted to the blog every week on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram account and you just become a follower of Astrological Winds channel, and you'll see the link there. And ditto with Facebook if you'd like to private friend me at Facebook. Name is Matthew with two T's and a capital M and then capital L-A-U-T-E-N, Lawton, L-A-U-T-E-N, and I do post the link there too. And remember, it's a free service that I'm giving, so what I ask everyone to do every week is to pass the link on to somebody else you know, even if you've done that before. That is really helpful to me in getting the blog to grow in a kind of natural, organic type of way. Also, if you ever need a reading done, or you know anyone that needs a reading done, I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing readings for over 20 years now, and I was trained and educated formally in astrology for 7 years. So I've been doing it a long time, and would love to do that for you or someone that you know who's ready for that. And best way to start that process up is to actually email me at matthuey823@gmail.com. That's matthuey823@gmail.com. And I will give a lot more details for contact at the end if you're interested in that. So hang around after I'm done with the forecast and you can get filled in on that. Remember now, if you're not overly familiar with astrological terms, remember, don't get too lost on what I'm saying. Astrologically, you want to really listen to the body of what that actually means, the interpretation, therefore knowing what the astrological weather or energy is this week, and that way you can work with it as best you can, having that knowledge. So don't get caught up on the terms and forget to hear the interpretation, is my point. So the first thing I just want to start with is today. There's a little thing before we get into the new moon thing, is on today, Monday, the sun is quincunx Chiron. And this is an interesting one. It gives us the ability, or the drive or motive, to really want to change or to go on a new path, also realize that we have to make some adjustments in order to do that. And so it gives us, on the one side, a good attitude if we're wanting to do that. If there's things we want to change in our life path and journey, then this really will spur us to have the ability to do that, to have the right attitude and the motivation and ambition to actually separate ourselves from what we feel or see or sense that's held us back, or is the step necessary for initiating where we want to go and change when then. And and it can literally be separations from, literally physically, from certain people or situations or places, or just like the way we're going about things, like changing things like that. Now, for people who don't want to change and like see that they should be and they're resisting it somehow, this can actually be like a distressing aspect today, because it can be really upsetting when you see like all the things you're trying to do are not really like working right and require some kind of change, yet you still want to stay in that pattern. And that's when that Chiron energy of like the wounding can come in to the self, to the old self that's still trying to hold on. So it's really recommended with this one, to make it work for you, is to to really allow those changes in, and that will give you the ability to discern what you need to move forward from. Okay, so Thursday, I'm going to flip to Thursday now, is when the moon we have the new moon, and it's at 22 degrees of Virgo. So that's where you want to look in your chart where 22 Virgo is, and then you'll know the house, which indicates the areas of your life where you'll likely see this new moon most effect. And it's a new moon, so once again, like I say, every new moon, this is a time when we can begin new things. Now, this new moon is, in Virgo, it's telling us that, whatever we're trying to initiate now, whatever those new things that we're starting to do now, what we really need to do now is take care of the details of things. And that means perfecting our skills, our techniques, whatever that may be, So what we want to do is really maybe take on some new ways of doing that, of like working with our mind, working with our hands, working with our tools to perfect the way we do things, to kind of like our own rule book, writing the procedures down, getting everything in order step by step. It really gives us the ability to have a very detailed, meticulous approach to things, where we can really see how all the parts fit into something. So, when we're with a new moon there, when we're initiating that, that's what it's telling us that we need to do in order to make whatever this new launch that we're, feeling in our lives at this time, that is, we need to like take care of the details if we really want it to move forward. And remember too, like, the danger of this Virgo energy is like, we do have an incredibly discerning mind. It's a very, very sharp, acute mind that sees under the surface and sees how everything, it sees the cogs in the machine, it sees everything and how it's working. And therefore, when something is not working right, it can get very critical, it can get very judgmental. And what we really want to do is use that on the inside. And remember, one of the things too to remember about that, when we find ourselves in a situation where we're becoming critical of others, right, and the way they're doing things, it usually means what? That we are more of an expert, or in that area or beyond. So instead of like looking down on another person, which would be the negative expression of Virgo energy, and like criticizing them or being overly judgmental, it's actually, the positive way is to understand that we're supposed to be of service to them instead, and that we have something to offer them that will help them. So we really have to be careful of our attitude, with that, because it's like easy to see the fool, so to speak, whenever we're an expert in something and someone else isn't, and that can trigger that kind of energy, and that's really, not high energy to fall into this pattern of, like, criticizing or judging others who don't know as well as you. That is, the high energy doorway there is, yes, this is where you're being asked to be of service in this energy, and you give your wisdom, your techniques, and your gifts to help people move forward. So what's really interesting about this new moon is it actually aspects in one way or another all the outer planets, and all those outer planets are retrograde. But the first thing that it's doing is it's making a grand trine with both Uranus very tightly with about 1 degree of a trine to Uranus. So that's the most potent aspect of this new moon, no doubt. But it's also separating from a trine to Jupiter, because if you remember, both Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus right now, both retrograde, and it's also trining Pluto in Capricorn, the other Earth sign. That's at 28 degrees. It's applying to a trine to Pluto. It's still wide, but it will be applying to that trine. So we have a grand trine in Earth, is what that means. And that means that if you initiate a change now, the energy is on your side. Now, it's going to flow with you. And one of the things we have to remember right away is the element that it's in is Earth, okay? And that means that it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be some immediate change. It's going to be something that fits in with that Virgo new moon. It's got to be plotted out. It's got to be planned. The details need to be filled in. The step-by-step process has to occur. So it's going to take several months, more than likely than not, to see the literally practical, physical type changes that can result from anything we start new now. Okay? Interestingly enough, too, it's opposite Neptune, so it's pulling in Neptune too, and the ruler of this new moon is Mercury, which is stationing direct, so it's in a very strong position, standing still, and that's opposite Saturn. So you can see Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto are all involved in this new moon, and all 5 of those outer planets are retrograde right now too. So that also means that whatever we're starting new right now is going to take time to manifest in the real world. And I'm thinking, once again, we're looking at several months. We're looking at the calendar year 2024, but it's a very important time at the new moon. It's the seed time, right? So the idea is like a seed in the ground. You don't see it in the real world yet, right? All the potential is still in a tiny little idea that's in this seed form, and it hasn't sprouted out into the world yet. So that's, really, really key. But here's the thing, right? So the grand trine, let's look at that first. First part, the tightest part is a trine to Uranus, right? That means we are super excited about wanting to bring in these changes. This is something we're really stimulated to do, and more likely than not, we have been introduced to some new ideas either through new people and new connections that we've made, or new experiences that we've had around this time of this new moon. There's something that's going to really stimulate us and really cause us to get excited about wanting to bring changes into our lives. it will stimulate our own personal freedom, our own ability to express who we truly are, the talents that we have. It's a time to like make those connections and kind of start showing the world, the uniqueness of each one of us and the talents we have. And this will bring in a lot of personal growth, a lot of satisfaction, it's also with the trine to Jupiter, which is separating, that gives us this very positive, optimistic attitude about it too. Like this is something, that we're feeling very positive about. And with the trine to Uranus, it's, also telling us, we're going to get highly stimulated, most likely through things that are of the higher mind. So like things we already have a knowledge base, a primary knowledge base about, that we're getting new layers of information or knowledge or wisdom downloaded to us that is much higher, much more insightful, intuitive, technical, like technology, human mind type stuff, like seeing things really deeply. That pulls in even the trine part to Pluto, where, what this change is going to do is spur a lot of passion within us, a lot of ambition within us, and it will naturally put us in our position of power or authority wherever we are. And this, what's interesting too, is all three of those planets have an interest in sharing that with the common good, with society, with those around us. And that's when they will cooperate and operate best with us. But the Pluto thing also blends in really well with the Mercury energy and the Virgo energy, because it says, listen, to the Uranus and Jupiter, you can't just go shooting off with these ideas that are very wide in scope, wide breadth and vision, but you're not filling in all the details. You don't have a plan. So this, that'll help pull that back and bring some balance. Pluto will work with Mercury and the Virgo energy of the new moon and be like, yeah, I can see really deeply. And so it really can be a very ingenious energy of putting all this energy together in this flow and having it come out, and we'll have some really probably intensely passionate connections with other people where we'll be sharing this information, everybody having something very significant to say, but even twice as much to hear and take in and like bring into us that help us elevate kind of our game, so that we can be, it can be a time full of very pleasant surprises and beneficial changes, and where people are giving and receiving benefit from one another, that's honest and open and forthright and honoring of the persons that we are. Now, it's not all that easy though, because there's three things here that to me counteract a lot of that energy, and so these are the three things that the three kind of potholes or things we have to work around as we're working with this new moon and this grand trine that it's forming. And number one is it's also opposite Neptune. Okay, and for me, what I think is going to happen here, especially with all the energy of excitement for change, is that there'll be moments where it's going to feel really odd and off, like because we're embarking on new journeys. So it can be really confusing at times. It may be times where we're not really sure what to do, what decision we should make, where we should go, who we should trust, whose ideas are right. So this is kind of like, I think it's an energy that's basically going to be triggered by making those changes. It puts us in new territory, and new territory can be odd to our practical mind. That earthy part of the grand trine may be shaken up a little bit, and it may be times where you're not really clear, whose ideas are right, whose ideals are too far out there, how much should you let them affect you. And so you can actually feel like indecisive and unclear about, some of the stuff that's being brought into you by other people. It may even get you suspicious of others. Are they trying to deceive you? Are they trying to mislead you in some way? Or are they so much out in their own world, and it's so disembarked from reality that it's not really, it ends up being like confusing to be contacted or connected with it. But it really, does show that you can make deep spiritual connection level energy with people, like sharing very mystical, spiritual, idealistic ideas that, once again can help feed the grand trine and elicit the desire to make changes, So very interesting on that level. And then the second thing is, and I already mentioned this, is that all the planets that are being involved in the aspecting of this new moon are retrograde. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all retrograde, and they're going to be for quite a while still. And even Mercury, the ruler of the chart, is right at the end of its retrograde. It's actually standing still. It's what we call stationary. So it's kind of like stuck a little bit in one position for a few days. And so what this means is the timing of all this stuff is not immediate. Like I said before, we're going to have to be patient, and we're going to have to use the time while these outer planets are retrograde to perfect our game. What I was talking about in the beginning, it's a new moon, and this new moon is in Virgo, and it's saying, like, if we want to be successful, we have to take on the practical things that we need to do in order to do that. And that is all about the details. That's all about taking care with the skills we have and going through everything and making sure that we've checked off the list, that every step of the plan has been taken care of if we want to have this success. So, so this energy really shows that, what we need to do these next few months, literally really the rest of 2023. I don't think the results of changes that we make and initiate now are going to be seen in the real world until 2024, when the outer planets all start to turn direct again. And then the last thing that's also going to slow it down a little is that ruler of the chart, which is the Mercury, ruler of Virgo, is the ruler of this new moon. So it, like I said, it's in a stationary position and getting ready to go direct, and it's opposite Saturn. And that's exactly saying the same thing again. That if we don't take care of all the little details, that whatever ideas we get in this new moon and with that grand trine are just going to be that. They're going to not end up being real. They're not going to, or if they are real, there's going to be parts of them that don't function well. So this is saying, like, hey, yeah, you really do have some duties, and it does require being meticulous, and it does require being in like this very like sober mind frame to deal with this energy. And And like, I think, once again, this energy can coincide with the way the moon in Virgo is, with the way Mercury in Virgo stationary is. So there can be strength there in reminding us that. The issue with this is it may seem like it's such a long road. Like I said, it may be a few months before we even start to see any practical results to the ideas we see now, that this can get us into like a negative mind frame about it, where we're kind of like seeing the glass as half empty, is what I like to call this aspect many times. That, like where we're feeling like the burdens of this are just, too much in the present and not enough benefit and require lots of patience. And so that's what it does do, and it can get us into a good mind frame of seeing how all the parts work together once again as a whole, and being able to, do what we need to do to put that all together. But it does put us into like a contemplative, quiet mindset. And that's one of the interesting things about this new moon too. When you think about Virgo energy, it's quieter energy. You think about Mercury retrograde, it's quieter energy. You think about all these other retrograde planets, it's quieter energy. And even the Mercury, the ruler of the chart, opposite Saturn, quieter energy. So there's a lot of contemplation, is my point. And many times that's where a new moon or a new thing or a seed for an idea starts, in a state of contemplation. That literally will be the very beginning point of an idea. So there is a natural flow to this. It's earth energy, that we're dealing with. And earth energy does not move fast. It kind of plods along. It's the tortoise, and so it's solid. It makes sure that each step of the way, the ground is solid under its feet before it moves forward. So it requires patience, and all these other energies are showing the same thing. Yet at the same time, the Grand Trine is promising that if we seed something now and have the patience and work through the details of it, that it will bring us personal freedom and independence that we have not had before, and put us more in our own power, where we can influence things around us the way we want to, and actually be using the talents that we were born with and the ones we most want to use in this world to help do that. So very self-fulfilling, but it's really, like I said, the earth energy entails the patience in order to get to that. And so then the very next day, on Friday, Mercury goes direct. And that shows, and it'll be in shadow until the end of the month, won't go into Libra until October 4th. So this, to me, really, these next 2 weeks are a perfect time to, see that plan, to really, work through the details, make the plan, and start, drawing up how you're going to approach doing this over the next several months, and take the first steps during these next 2 weeks. That will really help. So like I said, once again, look at where 22 degrees Virgo is in your chart. Like it's in the 10th house, then it means it has something to do with your career, most likely, right? Okay, so you just want to look at the house, and more likely than not, and then think about, contemplate, what have you been thinking in that area of life? Is there some new ideas that you had, some changes you've been thinking about initiating or have been exposed to recently, that really somehow honor your natural abilities that you see? That's what you want to jump on. And yeah, like I said, then use the next 2 weeks of Mercury starting to move forward in Virgo, a sign that it's very strong and exalted and rules, to get all those plans and details moving forward. And then the last thing I want to mention is next weekend we have a really sweet Venus square Jupiter on Saturday. And I remember last weekend I said it was a really nice weekend for, get socializing, get-togethers. This is another one just like that. It's really about just having fun, really like enjoying life, connecting with friends, and people that you're kind of familiar with, and just kicking back and having fun, really, and relaxing. I mean, we do indulge ourselves during Venus square Jupiter. We enjoy the pleasures of life. So we may find that, we have our bank accounts are going to be lower at the end of the weekend or whatever, but it is all about that. And it's not the type of energy where we're going to be very motivated to work very hard. It's more of a type of energy like we've gone through some of this new moon, this intense energy, and maybe time to take a break. So I really, if it's a weekend, you can get away and do something, or even invite people over to your space. Venus is always good for entertaining at home too. And it is a time where we can, beautify our areas too, put a nice little touch on the things that we have. All right, well, that's what I got for this week. This is Matt Lawton, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. And this is a video blog that I do every week on YouTube. And if you have a YouTube account, you can become a follower if you like what you just saw. And if you do that, turn on your notifications, and then you'll know when I post the blog, which is usually every Monday, since it is a weekly forecast. And remember, you don't have to be married to YouTube. It's available on all kinds of podcasts. So just look up Astrological Winds channel on your favorite podcast, and you will find it. If you don't find it there, just check another one, because I know about 20 of them pick it up through Buzzsprout. Also, if you have an Instagram account, I do post the link there, and sometimes I post additional information during the week that's just commentary stuff. It's not another video or audio commitment. It's just like reading a few sentences about certain days that may have extra stuff going on that I like to talk about. So there's always a little bonus there if you follow on Instagram. And then also I do post it on Facebook. It is a private account under my name, which is Matthew with 2 T's, Lawton, L-A-U-T-E-N. You can friend me there, and eventually I'll probably approve your friendship, as long as it's not some, fishing expedition, basically, which unfortunately a lot of the Facebook stuff is these days. But anyway, yeah, so those are different ways you can connect. And remember, since it is a free service, I'm asking you to pay it forward now and pass the link on to somebody else. Even if you've done that before, please do it again. I really appreciate that. It's the way I get the blog to grow. If you'd like to give a donation, no amount is too small. My Zelle handle is the symbol @ the A with the circle, and then once again it's Matthew with a capital M and 2 T's, so it's M-A-T-T-H-E-W, and then there's a hyphen in the middle, and then it's capital L-A-U-T-E-N, Lawton. That's my Venmo handle. And like I said, no amount is too small. I appreciate everything anyone would be motivated to give me and help me out. And best way, though, to help me out is I am a professional astrologer, and I give professional readings. I've been doing that for 20 plus years. I was trained formally for 7 years to do that. I would love to do it for you or someone you know when you're ready for that. A professional reading is much deeper than anything you can do or look up yourself or get a printout on a computer or have a friend who's read a book or two about astrology too. This is integral to you. It's integral to knowing who you are, and the energies that work in your life. They never leave you. They're with you always. And I really think when you know that stuff, you can really turn the tables. It can be a little bit of a crapshoot in life and get things mainly moving all in the direction that you want them to. Also, around your birthday every year, I recommend a predictive reading. It's the same thing I'm doing right now for the week, except that I do it for you for a full year. And every year we have the way the planets line up hit our chart in a different way, and they are indicative of the big challenges and the good things that are going on for us, so we can once again get congruent with the energies of that year and really work with that a much more satisfactory way. Also, do relationship charts, children's charts, fixed stars analysis if you're looking for deeper soul purpose and know your natal chart well. Astrocartography, relocation type energy, also elections if you're looking for the best timing of an event, horary if you have a question that you can't get the answer to, specific questions to. There's beginner classes available too, and also available for groups, for workshops, lectures, classes, question and answer sessions, mini readings, all those things. Best way to initiate the process is to email me, and there's no commitment. Just email me. We'll start to talk about it, create a conversation, and see where we want to go from there. And that's at matthue823@gmail.com. matthue823@gmail.com. All right, folks, look at where that Virgo energy, that 22 degrees is in your chart, and start to try to initiate something new there. It's a ripe time to do that, and I'll see you all next week.